you know, the budget says we're going to take $4 million. Why don't we have the $4 million figure into the Fund 17 transfer
for next year?
For 17-18.
We haven't used it yet.
Well, no, but it's projected. You can say projected. 17-18 is.
So maybe we should back up. We should, because it looks like we're getting confused with this, and we're diving to it. Like, if this was presented to us as community members,
I would be
glazed
over.
What the heck does this mean? So maybe we just take it out, and what do we need to convey from this particular piece? And then maybe if it's not a graph, we say that in words.
Maybe this slide should say more of, there was a point in time where we were allowed to take money from proceeds of land, and we've taken advantage of that twice. No longer can we do that. That might be enough to say for the purposes of what this exercise would be. I don't know if that's...
And it wasn't just land, it wasn't just that $4 million, it was the one-time money that the state gave us that we used to kind of set up programs that are ongoing. Is that correct?
So that first row is all of the one-time, one-time money / mandated cost money. The state calls it both. That's the big argument in Sacramento. That's what the first line is, that darker blue line. The transfers from Fund 17 to Fund 1 are on the second line. The reason there are question marks under 17-18 is because this slide came from the very first budget presentation.
So we can put the $4 million in there, right?
We don't know.
Well,
we don't
no,
know
it's
what the
in the
final
budget.
budget will be.
Well, we're predicting the one-time mandate. We should predict the fund.
That's
again,
the one-time mandate money is actually going to change as well.
And I almost think maybe even before we do the one-time
funds, too dense.
we say, how do we get into this situation? So we say, it's a bullet point that says declining enrollment, another bullet point that says deficit spending, and then another bullet point that says use of one-time funds haven't been able to cover the deficit spending,
Yep.
And this is where we are now.
Exactly. That's exactly what you do. It's 3 bullets, make it simple.
Did you catch that, Shar?
Simplify.
Simplify, 3 bullets.
Don't give them these figures. They would not.
Well, I think the chart though is important because it shows, it gives you some data points.
Use it as an appendage.
I mean, like if you wanted to have a bunch of graphs, I think I'm trying to think of like,
Yeah, no,
you presented this to people who have no understanding of what the hell Fund 17 is. Or,
it gets less boring soon.
The way I look at it is,
Well, instead of Fund 17, you could say transfer from reserves. Instead, you said that the one-time mandate number changed. What is it, Brian?
That's from the state.
The 17-18 one-time mandate, funding.
so because the question is, how did NUSD get into this situation? Right. So we can say, like again, like well, how did we get here?
So what I would say, let me go through a couple more slides and come back. I think I might capture it.
Okay.
We might have to resequence the slides.
Okay, then maybe that.
So yeah, give me a
Sorry,
minute.
I was trying to figure
but
out.
I think that what I'm getting from this slide, we just need to simplify it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And say less, but have it be accurate.
Exactly. Like too many numbers.
And maybe I need to look at the arc of the story of. I kind of what I was trying to do here is kind of what I've done here in writing. Is kind of build on the story. Here's the California situation. Here's what happened locally.
Yes,
exactly. A lot of different, but it's not flowing the way I really wanted it to. So that's really good feedback. So this needs to be simplified, but I think, like for example, I don't know if you can see that. It can't really show up on the screen. But I exited out of there. Sorry, Sean.
So on this screen right here, about the
Just hit present and go back in.
Okay. I don't know.
the cost of stirs and PERS.
How do I hit present here? I did something wrong. Go ahead, thank you. So, and that's kind of what I think it makes sense to make that slide with the bullets, because that's what I talk about next. What went up exactly with stirs?
Exactly.
What went up exactly with PERS? How did our enrollment decline? That's what's coming. What were you saying, Tom? I'm sorry.
Like if you capture that very bottom row right there where it says P plus S increase, 1.4 to 3.9, no, it's 2.5 the whole time. I think those 4 data points is all you need on this slide right here. How much we paid out in PNS, you know.
The actual stirs.
The actual amount.
Even we
forget the other junk.
Yeah, don't worry about
percentages and all
Just
that
those
stuff.
2 bottom lines, stirs increase and PERS increase over the time.
Yeah.
PNS.
The bottom one, the last one.
Because that's the.
That's
keep
the,
it
Personal
together,
close.
that's together.
That's together, right?
So you can
They
just
don't
put.
care where, which.
Yeah, they
So
don't
these
care.
three-
Mr.
So, no,
Everything
no.
but just
Bottom
the two bright blue ones.
So,
Okay,
so
Just the
instead
very
of,
bottom.
instead of, you can just put total increase. Total increase, bam, 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 bam.
okay.
Period.
Yeah.
Would you mark this up for me with the pen?
Sorry.
Just
And I
write
was
on it.
actually trying to go,
That's fine.
if we can go back previously, because was it less previously? Mr. Richards, prior to, I would say go back to where it was, 9% historic.
You mean add additional years prior to 16, 17?
Yeah. Or was it, did it start 16, 17? Where it
No.
started? Yeah.
No, it started, let's see, 3 years prior to that.
Right, so I would
Was the
go back
first year
3 years
increase.
to when it really began, of how much we were accustomed to paying at these stores, and then
Back to
show
when it was
what we're paying
8.2%.
now.
That's why I did up what the historical STRS rate on our current payroll would be at 8.25 versus the 12.58. And the historical PERS rate versus,
But that's very data dense.
yeah, I understand.
Large chart.
So maybe a graphic.
At the very
maybe
bottom.
Maybe a line.
All right, so just 3 more years of history going back, we can pull that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whether it's how much we actually pay or.
I think the
It would be
number.
I think the increase, because what, if we stated 8.5% as a district, we planned for that.
The percent's key, because that
But-
plays in what I'm doing later.
But, okay, then actual, if you put
Percent and
down
the
someplace
dollars.
where it says the percent increase there, but you've got too much.
I agree, if we can go back farther when it was 8.25%, and then the percentage
go.
as it goes
So
year
march it,
and
march it,
the
march it,
actual
march it,
dollars
march
as
it.
it
Yeah.
went year by year,
Okay.
percentage and dollars.
All right, I think we have an idea of how we can beef that up. This is a good graphic.
Yes.
This shows how we've declined in enrollment from 08, 09 to present, both in enrollment and ADA.
So we have our 17, 18 numbers. I've been wanting to get them, waiting to get them.
That's
Yeah, what is this
semester.
preliminary?
Where are we right now?
Hold on just a moment.
Warm body. So this starts telling the story.
We've lost just a
See, this
few.
is pretty straightforward.
This is
and
easier
Right.
to understand.
Like you
So
tell me-
something sort of more like that
Yes,
is a better way to tell the
exactly.
Right,
story.
because it's.
see it?
It's boring, it's
Okay,
dead.
we lost 1,300 people, 10 million. Oh crap, like that's a.
Right.
I think the yellow line, the ADA line,
Uh-huh.
I think may confuse it further. I would just keep the blue line.
Okay.
Because the slide's talking about enrollment, not necessarily percent attendance, and it looks like it's
Right,
tracking
you're
pretty
right.
parallel.
Yeah,
The two chart anyways.
Yeah,
Um,
so just do the blue. Good.
that's good.
That's
Thank
good.
you. All right, I got one close there.
Well,
I
but the
like that.
8765 is per ADA, so you've got to be careful.
No, that has nothing to do with the chart though.
But the
That's
chart
number of
is-
students
yeah.
enrolled.
Declining enrollment.
That's really what
Well,
I'm
don't
trying to-
say.
So take away the
don't-
ADA in the
Well,
title.
no, don't say 8765 per pupil, say 8765 per average daily attendance, because
Right,
that's
fine.
what it's, that's what our funding's based on. You can't
We
talk
need to
about
clarify that.
enrollment without, and then
So
put
maybe we
that
just
number in.
Get rid of the
Clarify
blue.
in the text a little better.
Yeah,
and leave
per
both lines
average
maybe.
daily attendance.
Okay,
If someone asks, well, what is that compared to enrollment, then you can tell them, well, it's about 96%.
okay, I think we can fix it if we beef up the text just a little bit to answer that. Okay? I don't know where I'm pointing this, but.
You know, I think looking at this versus the one before, don't worry about complete sentences. Worry about two
Clear
ideas.
messages.
Bullet points, yeah.
Idea,
Okay.
whether it's bullet point or not, so that it's, people shouldn't have to read sentences and figure it out.
This is a list
So
of
that could be loss of 1,300 students equals loss of $10 million.
Right, okay. Yeah,
Right, so just, I mean,
yeah, real clean and clear. This is kind of, the slide talks about what we've done thus far, what we've identified thus far to try to impact the budget.
What's tier 2 admin support?
That's the, when admins get their initial credentials. I think like before we used to pay for them to get their tier 2 clearance. So it's a course that they take to the county or university. So I guess now we're not paying for that anymore, pretty much.
Okay,
Yeah, I would take that one out in the, I don't know, it's pretty small.
Okay.
No, I want anything in there that says admin, because they're gonna wanna cut the entire administrative office. And I want credit for every administrative cut we've made of it so far. That's why I wanted it in there. I mean, I can take it out, but
No,
I think it's
Wait,
important.
where's the
to
$100,000 for no funding of adult education?
I think it comes up in the upcoming slide, I believe. And also reducing overtime and overages. I know
Right,
it's coming
right,
too.
okay,
It's
good.
coming too, I think.
That,
But I don't know if the 100,000 is in there, Brian?
that,
The
that's,
100,000 was done after all of those actions. Those are the actions from the May board meeting.
Okay,
The 100,000 was done after the adoption of the budget.
But we need to add that in.
we need to indicate.
no, because that 100,000 wasn't spent last year, so it's not a cut.
If it's in the new budget, it is a cut. 'Cause we're talking about cutting the budget back, not what we budgeted or spent last year, right? Because we're 4 million in the hole in the budget that we have designed for the next year. So we need to cut that money out of the budget,
Okay.
whether or not it was spent last year or not.
So you have ideas about that? Okay. So what are some agreements we've had to start closing the deficit? Cut non-salary expenses, implement partial hiring freeze, we've done that. And start working on additional cuts, reduce overtime and overages, utilize reserves to get us through the first year, but begin planning now for the full 4.34 million.
What does that mean?
So, you want to explain that, Ryan? Utilizing reserves to get through the first year, that bullet?
That's the direction the board gave during budget development. We're utilizing reserves this year, the money from Fund 17, to balance things out so that the remainder of the cuts could be made for 18-19. That's how the budget was built this year.
No, I guess I'm trying to just get it, like, I'm reading this like, I have no history of knowing what the board has done ever, so I read this as, we're using reserves to get us to the first year, but we're planning now to get the full 4.3 million, the full 4.3 million, like, additional revenue, reserves.
that's not clear. I see what you're saying.
It refers to the prior slide of the average deficit of 4.34 million.
But it's too jargony, it needs to be
I guess
clear.
begin planning now to cut the 4.3 million for 2018.
And it sounds like we're gonna cut 4.34 all in 1 year,
Yeah, that was
2018.
what we asked staff to do.
Because I thought we had
Yes.
said.
We have already done some of that,
Just do it in 2 years.
have we not?
Yeah, and the
No,
one
no,
point,
because-
No.
No, because of the increase that we adopted, right? They put us even more in the hole.
You're talking about
So the
the contracts.
cuts that we did, the 1.2 million cuts, was, is already considered in the 4.34.
Okay, so it's 4.34
Yeah.
top.
Mhm.
but I see what you mean about the
4.34 was
reserves.
prior to that.
It's not easy.
So
That
what,
number's from prior to the cuts.
To cut, I think cut rather than get.
so then we're at 3 point, you're telling me we're at 3 point what? See, that's the piece where, if we don't have clarity ourselves, how can we be on message with?
This needs to be easier to understand.
I think we may have to bridge from where we were prior to budget adoption to where we are at budget adoption and then roll the new numbers forward. I think I would have
You know,
to
and
change my
yeah, and-
suggestion, Pat. I apologize. I
Okay.
should have thought of that
No,
this
that's
morning.
okay. That's why we're here. I'd rather do it here.
I don't think they care what we've done, I think they want to see where we are now.
I do
move
think it's
forward.
important I think it's important for the community to see that the board has done what they can so far, and they've made some decisions. And part of that we're feeling tonight in the public comment, I'm probably gonna feel.
Yeah, I mean,
I
the
think-
framing
I think
is,
people understand history.
It's not like you guys are sitting here just waiting for
Right.
staff to just decide all of it for you. You guys took a stand and said, no, whatever we can halt and stalwart right now, we want to stop. I think it's important to give credit for that.
I think that framing has to be given, because we cut this because we saw that there was a $5 million down the pipeline.
And maybe it's a timeline. I'm thinking maybe there's a different graphic to represent, here's what's happened in the timeline. I don't know. I'm wrestling with that. So we're getting closer to the less boring slides, but I want to push
And
forward.
instead of Fund 17, can we say reserves? Just say reserves.
Right,
I would, I'm trying not to make, but if we put mandatory reserves, because otherwise, from the public, I would say, then use those 1.5 million.
Why don't you keep using them?
I
We
mean,
need to explain that.
so I would just say mandatory reserve to remain at or above.
No, that's not the mandatory
That's not the
reserve, that's the
3.5%.
additional reserves.
No.
Additional reserves to remain at or above.
Right.
That's what's in Fund 17 is additional.
So this is above the.
Fund 1
3%.
has the 1.5.
It's above the
3%.
3%.
So then they're gonna, so people say, well, why don't we use this?
Why don't we use that?
We can't.
Why
Because
not?
we need a cushion. It's
We can't,
a,
we can't do it, it's illegal.
no
And
way.
that's what, that's what
No,
I'm
no, no.
asking.
No.
Like,
You're talking about the
Mandated reserve, I think, is
mandated.
2%.
The 1.5
right?
is what the
1.5.
board has said we want to
Three.
remain in
We have to
Fund
keep 3%.
17.
So is this
One
above
point-
the 3%?
Yes.
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 We have said we want to keep 1.5 million in special reserve above the mandatory 3% as a cushion.
Right.
And in parentheses, you could put Fund 17,
So it's 4.5%.
Yeah.
in small little font.
Okay.
So people that know about Fund 17.
So that's actually money that we could use, but we decided that we don't want to.
We said that we
We wouldn't do
did
it.
not
You
want
have
to.
1.5 wiggle room, depending on where things land.
But doesn't our two-year budget call for pretty much the exhaustion of?
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's my understanding. That's
We're
gonna go
forced to use
away.
it.
Exactly.
That's, well, unless we cut,
If we,
unless we cut.
if we make the reductions to get to the full amount of the average over the 3 years, then we would no longer be pulling money from Fund 17 because that number was calculated prior to the transfers. So that is the goal to get to so that we don't have to transfer out of Fund 17.
So as
And
a
that leaves the
practical
money in
matter-
Fund 17.
As a practical matter, as a parent, you tell me, do you have 1.5 million, yes or no, to be able to cushion it even further?
Yes.
Okay, and then that's part of
Come the
it.
earthquake. Yes.
Right. Right.
I mean, that's the,
Yes.
I get it,
So,
I
yeah.
get
Can you
it.
spend
yeah.
all the way to
Yeah,
3%
I get
as
it.
board? Yes.
I get it, some,
But
something.
we board
We
has
have
to agree or-
1.5%
That's-
cushion above. the
That's the
mandatory.
decision you all have to make.
Yeah.
Well, we've already made that and voted on it.
Right. Right. Okay, I'm gonna keep pushing forward. So other things that we're looking at, other options, revenue enhancements, trying to get some strategies on how to increase enrollment, considering what is there, not that we're doing a parcel tax, but that's gotta be on the table. Expenditure reductions, strategic utilization of reserves.
What is building?
In answer to your question earlier, and since Pat just mentioned increasing enrollment, the answer is as of right this minute, 83 up from last year.
Oh,
What was
Can
the
we
other
spell
question?
increasing enrollment, just,
Plus,
Yeah,
Except building one.
kind of marketing or,
Right.
say increasing enrollment and
Instead of
take
building.
out expenditure
Enhance.
reductions, because that's what we're all about with the cuts.
right.
Well, no, that's my option, that's what we need to do, right?
But it's also, I was also thinking things like solar and
Oh,
some of
I'm
those other
seeing.
types of savings, you know, spending less, not so much like, so I need to be clearer about that. So increasing enrollment instead of building. Okay, there might be other things,
I don't know about strategic utilization of reserves, only because
and maybe we need to spell that out.
we haven't.
Yeah.
It's just been,
Maybe that's, but then, but
Leave it
I'm just
out.
saying, that maybe that's what we need to consider, is to tap into that 1.5% that we have.
We're doing that this year.
1.5%, so we'll have to rework that slide again.
maybe it's just utilization, sorry, it's more of like, we're not doing a strategic thing.
Yeah, well, and that's
I get
what
what you
you've
mean.
done
I
in the
just mean
past.
like,
but- Yeah, let me, so do we have to make them all in the first year?
So we're calling Fund 17 a special reserve, and that's what we should call it at the time.
So we should stick.
So if we're
the
gonna
same
do it, and
language.
then in parentheses, put Fund 17. So
Yeah.
wherever Fund 17 is, it's special reserve,
Reserve is Fund
parentheses,
17.
Fund 17. Wherever it is,
reserve.
so there's not
Find
shifting
and
around.
replace that, okay.
And Fund 17 is home.
Right.
Now, that makes
In
more
small,
sense.
maybe
Okay.
12 versus
Be
16.
consistent,
Yeah,
okay.
because if
I
I
have it
have,
fully from different PowerPoints, so it is mixed.
I've got a first grader, and I've been told that the class size is gonna go to 29 from 24, and yet you've got $1.5 million there, that you don't have to do that.
Right.
So this spells that out, and I like that point.
Okay, we'll clarify that. It won't be forever.
We need to add in like partial tax.
I
That's the
would
third-
agree with that too.
Add parcel tax
That's a
to that
third
slide.
bullet. Yeah.
That's, should be on the slide that we're talking about sources of revenue.
Okay.
Well, Okay.
No, that's
then
one
we
of the
gotta tweak
solutions,
this
it's
slide
parcel
then,
tax.
because this mentions increase enrollment as a potential source of revenues coming into.
I think so too.
Increase revenue.
So here's the next, we're ready for that, I didn't mean to go that fast. Are we okay to go forward from there? So then, here's the enrollment trend, so this shows that it's gonna get better, but only modestly unless we do something significant to move beyond just the mild or projections based on what's traditionally gone over time.
Yeah, and I think the key point here is that in the next 7 years, we will not get back to where we were 5 years ago.
You're right,
So.
unless we do something significant.
Unless we do something different, yeah.
Right, and I think that's, but I think the good thing, I think that what I'm trying to illustrate with this one is, it's short term, it's gonna stabilize, but we have a low spot we're in right now. So now we're getting to some exercise. So I want your help, and I'm gonna put you through the exercise now. So these are the categories that we're talking about within the general fund.
Hold on, so let me pause. I don't think we should be commenting in this, like, I know you mentioned,
Yeah, that's
let's
fine.
go through the exercise, because that may taint,
Yeah.
people are watching this from home and whatnot,
Okay,
that may taint the input that you may get.
Yeah.
right?
okay,
Right. So
We have to be careful.
we'll
We're
just
not
sit here
supposed to
and
be
observe
making
and
any
listen.
decisions here.
okay, right,
Yeah.
right. Well, let me, then I'll give it to you and explain what I would plan to do tomorrow.
There you go, thank you.
Okay, that's fine. So what I'm gonna do tomorrow, I'm gonna go through this exercise I'm gonna share with you now. But these are the categories that were, of the general fund that we need to discuss. And these are the categories in which we will be making some recommendations to the county on reductions in the general fund. These are all general fund categories sorted by, is it called source code? What's the term?
Function code.
Function code. That way, when we're in the study session, or the meeting with the public, the input meeting, Brian can pull up any of these in real time on his computer and go into detail if we need to. So he can pull it up by function code, we have a report. But to give you a flavor of it, these are the categories that we're going to be discussing. School side instruction includes teachers, aides, campus monitors, special ed, instructional and professional development.
Take a bite out of the apple.
Site, school site leadership and support, principals, APs, deans, department chairs, office staff, instructional library and media, and parent participation. District-wide, instructional support.
Can you go back to that previous slide?
Yes.
It doesn't include MOT.
Is MOT not in there?
MOT has its own category. We haven't gotten to the 8s yet. We're still in the we're still in the 2s right now.
Okay. So district-wide instructional support, ed services, curriculum, in-house PD, new teacher support, pupil services, counseling, psych support, attendance, health, speech, testing, transportation is in here. Ancillary community and enterprise, co-curricular athletics and clubs, and community services. District office.
Could I go back though?
Sure.
You know, because when you brought that first slide up, it was site-based. And now you've gone to district-based and ancillary. The site-based includes our maintenance and custodial.
Our custodians move from one site to
These
another.
are by, Nancy, these are
They're
not by
district.
site, these are by function code. So the only thing that we've divided within a range of function codes, the function codes are in groups of thousands. The 2100s in the 2000 section is educational services and certificated in-house staff development. The 24s and the 27s are all site-based because they're library media technology, parent participation, and school site administration. That group is the 24s and 27s. M&O, whether site-based or district, is all in the 8,000s, and those functions we haven't gotten to yet because ancillary community and enterprise are function codes 4,000 through 6,999.
And we're supposed to know that.
That's what these slides are for, is to explain what the functions are.
Yeah, yeah.
And we're
I
going to
know.
talk
No,
about
I
it in the annual
appreciate that.
report as well.
These are the buckets within the general fund.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no one's gonna know or care about the bucket numbers that are watching this. It doesn't make any difference to them, so I think that we have to decide whether it seems a logical sequence for someone who is not gonna think about numbers.
Although, I would argue, there's a large group at secondary that would love to comment on athletics and clubs and why it shouldn't be cut.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt.
Right.
I don't think that, or why they should.
Yeah, why they should be cut.
Community services might be, maybe need to be described a little bit more, because I'm not sure what that would be.
Right. Maybe a little more detail.
I don't know what it is.
What is
I
it?
think
It's summer swim.
I mean, this is,
It makes money.
so this data is from the functions, right, of our expenditures. But I think
That's
what may be more consumer friendly for our audience is just 3 or 4 big pots, right? Certificate staff, classified staff, administrative support staff, and other supports and services. And then within those 4 huge categories, list the type of positions, and maybe know whether it's, let's say,
Yeah,
let's say it's
you're right.
administrative, right?
Yeah.
Site admin, district admin, etc. What does that look like?
think you're
Because I
right.
think for the county, we just need to submit to them
This is the format we'll be submitting the reductions to the county.
an X number of positions, if we're cutting positions, or X number of programs that we're cutting to.
We also are saying we want input, and we can only be so long in terms of what we're giving them. And I don't know how long this is gonna take.
Especially people.
But we're gonna
who have
lose, we're gonna lose people. They're gonna wanna talk, and they're gonna wanna say something, and so you wanna make sure you set this, you set the
Yeah.
set up so that they have an easy, when they finish with this, they have a thought, yeah, this is something that I think we can cut.
Okay.
They need to have things, you need to help them go through the thought processes they need to make a determination what's important to them.
Okay. Let me keep going through here. This is the one they're all gonna wanna cut.
The slides look very nice.
Yeah.
It's a very nice, it's very friendly, and it's a structure that we need for most of the slides, I think. Because it's a doable thing.
So this is district office. IT.
You may want to go back here. I'm sorry. You may want to clarify the Board of Education, because there may be, wait, so we can cut the Board of Education?
Right.
Like, I mean, maybe denote that that's probably like for our budget or some of our annual budget.
What a nice
Let's just
idea.
clarify, board budget.
Well, in
Or
all
what
those
is-
cases, we're
I
don't
talking
think
about
they
the
have
budget of all those
expenses.
departments, it's a department.
Get rid of the Board of
Expenses, yeah.
Education.
Well, right.
So maybe just say district office budgets.
Yeah,
Yeah, whatever the
District
budget
office.
is, right?
Well, if an administrator comes in, that's in essence what they do anyway.
I have a question. What's the circle graph? What does that represent?
Oh, I'm glad, you saw my
You'll
anticipation.
get there.
It's coming,
Okay, that's good. As long as people think about it, that's good.
it's coming.
I figured there was a reason for it.
There is.
It hasn't changed. Each slide's the same, right?
I like that it's consistent. IT, maybe that could fit into the category of central office. I mean, everybody thinks of it that way.
So board, you've got a $50 million budget. Why don't you just cut everybody by 10% and we'll take care of the $5 million?
Right, 5% across the board.
10% across.
And there's
So here's MOT, they do have their own category.
Negotiated, and just simply go.
That's what an administrator would do.
Right. So MOT,
Although that's M&O is here.
M&O.
T is not. T is 3,600, so it's in pupil
so we
support
need to go
services.
fix the T on that slide. Would you explain any,
it's a Tom's point.
That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't make any difference.
Interagency
what
transfer.
does that mean, Brian?
That is the $969,000 at the base of the local control funding formula that we contribute to ROP, that's calculated based on the old ROP calculation factor from prior to the incurrence of the local control funding formula. The 3 districts that are part of our ROP JPA entered into an agreement when the ROP applied for additional money from the state that we would maintain our funding level for all of the years of the grant.
So we need to say that in
It's a pass-through, is it? Is it not a
maybe graphic
pass-through?
or something.
It's a pass-through. The money,
no, because
Well,
we
it
were not
was a
required to pay.
pass-through back in the day, but now it's
No.
part of the local control funding formula
It's
base,
not
but the
required.
3 districts elected to continue funding ROP at the same level.
I still think if we go back to Tom's kind of point in terms of maybe change the framework of the areas,
Fewer
if you do
buckets.
that.
Four
And you
buckets.
could either put the percentage and the amount. So for example, like, cutting ROP would mean close to $1 million, but it means cutting ROP, right? Like, in terms of the framework of.
What do we offer our kids?
Okay.
Exactly.
And actually, ROP, it's, well, because it's changed the funding. I'm sorry.
We wouldn't get the money.
Yeah.
Right?
We get money. ROP gets money.
It
So,
used to be a
I know, but it
building, a
wouldn't
money
come to
maker.
us to give to them.
so here's the exercise I
You
want to
limited
do.
RP. There is
And I
no.
don't know, you might
No,
think
it's
that.
part of the base, right?
We're not getting.
Huh?
It's now part of the local control funding formula base.
This
Oh,
It used to
okay.
be a categorical years ago, but it was
Right.
rolled into the base.
But
Okay,
as a
got it.
community choice, it's the input that they provide, it's like, which of these pockets would you like?
So,
prefer?
okay, let's see what you have for the handout.
Let's just bear with me. Let's look at the handout. And I'm gonna share this, whoever in the audience wants a copy. Would you help me with that? Just do one of each.
This is pretty
So what I'd
cool.
like you to do
No, this is pretty cool.
is, and I don't know if you feel comfortable doing this, because I'm not asking you to cut anything, but this is the exercise I'm gonna ask people to do. Here's the rules of the game. This is your quiz. The first column that says prediction, I'd like you to take a minute individually and predict, what do you think is the percentage that encumbers of our budget? The only rule is it has to total 100% at the bottom.
So they're trying to figure out
They're
where
gonna
we're spending
predict.
the money right now.
Where do you think it is? What would you guess that it is? Put a number in there and let them, I'm gonna reveal what it is actually, but I want you to think about what would you predict it would be?
Yes, it's all up here. The processing was the sevens because
Okay.
it will roll right into the sevens very easily. We
Which
wouldn't have
small
it seven.
buckets would simply understand.
That's fine.
Maybe there'll be a prize for whoever's closest. We'll see.
You get to choose the first cut, and then.
0 at the superintendent's office. I know it's coming. Just put it in there. You're not gonna hurt my
Where
feelings.
it belongs. This is a nice clean. I think it's very nice.
That's why we like to just at a glance, just all the general fund categories.
Yeah, no,
We can make more buckets and that'll be cleaner even still.
well, then I think that, okay, so is there gonna be a place at which they can say what in that is really, for example, under school site leadership, I wanna get rid of all the deans. So, some way of saying deans are not that important if you want my input.
Yeah.
You're talking as a hypothetical public member, right?
Do what?
You're speaking as a hypothetical public member.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So I'm over 100%, that's why
I'm
we're
not
in the
talking about
mess we're in right now.
You're not over 100, you've got.
Can't be over 100%, that's the one, that's the only rule.
I've got
You
it.
can't spend more than what
You
you
want,
have.
you want to take mine? And add?
So, the next step after that, and I'm not gonna collect those back from the board, you guys can keep them. I would reveal the actual, which is that pie chart.
Oh, that's interesting, yeah.
I'm not gonna tell you now, because I'm not gonna reveal the secret of the sauce. I'll give you a copy of it, you
Oh,
can take
come
home.
on.
What do you think? Would it contain, there's probably so popularly looked at, it'll reveal my,
Sure, go
I
ahead.
can share it with you, I have it up here. I'll show you. Here's the actual.
Oh, I'm pretty close.
62, 8.1. Oh, I was way over on services.
I was way over in activity, community, enterprise.
8,
So I think that's part of it is, wow, I didn't realize that, oh,
5.2,
that's surprising.
I was close. IT staff, oh, I said it. I gave you more money, Larry, than,
I was right on. I was right on. For that one, about the only one I
Go
was.
back, go back.
There's another way to look at it. Nope, not gonna go back.
Yeah, up there. It's up there, here you go.
So it's on here anyway.
Okay.
Percentages are there. So we go through that. So then we'll do a second round. Now that they know what they predicted, they'll know what the actual is, then I'm gonna mix groups intentionally. When people walk in, I'm gonna assign a number and a color. When we get to this portion, I'm gonna ask people to mix groups, just randomly, so that they have different perspectives of the table, whatever kind of table exercise we'll do. Okay, now I'd like you to do a round 2 or round 1 with a different color sheet that says, I'll show you that. So we'll collect input in this format. I'll have a guided protocol I'll take them through.
And you're looking for percentages.
Now I want them to
Reduce
kind of,
down.
this is kind of more of a recommendation. I'm collecting recommendations of what they think might be appropriate. Let me have, you want to share these, Larry, too?
We need to rephrase the second paragraph as to what we're actually submitting to the county, by the third, because we're not submitting their actual budget, just to support the
will-
county's cuts.
Forward the recommended cuts or the
But general areas of cuts.
general areas of cuts, something.
Really, the category that we're going to reduce and percentage is what we need to have for the county. Is that right?
Now, what is this gonna give us?
$dollars.
What is this information gonna give us?
Well, I'm glad you asked.
Good.
As I collect that, we'll talk about it, they'll have time to process, and then maybe do a second round. I think they'll do the first round, maybe small group or pairs. The second round will be at a table. Have more of a lively discussion around what do you think, and let's kind of agree, what do you think would be a good recommendation? And then I'll take those with, then I'm also going to hand this out before they leave. And these 2 documents, I'll share these with the audience too.
Larry just ate candy.
Come on, Larry. When these are complete, before, this is kind of their exit ticket. If they want to leave it with me, I'd like them to leave it with me. I'm going to hand carry these to the advisory council meeting, and we're going to unpack those as an advisory council. So they're going to start helping to map what are the patterns and trends we're seeing in the feedback, where are we hearing there's a lot of interest, what are some areas that there's agreement. Because the better, I think the power of this process is to collect these. This is really what all the work is, to get these documents back from people and start mapping what are the biggest patterns over time that we need to pay attention to.
What do I do in this? Do I say get rid of the deans in the high school?
Whatever you want to say, it doesn't
Where
matter.
do I put that?
Put it in an idea, in the idea column.
Or your highest
Where's the
priority.
idea column?
No.
Other ideas to consider, the by the way, in the by the way box.
Down there.
You can say whatever you want as an individual, or as a parent, or a union member, or city council, whatever you want to
Why
say.
the plus, the
we'll play.
delta, and the arrow, what's that? What does that mean?
Process.
What worked in the process for you?
No, I know, but I'm wondering why you chose these
Because
symbols.
those help me modulate how I run the next meeting.
Okay,
Some of it is to help me with the process and protocol. Some of it's to get ideas and things we might not have thought about. So we'll disaggregate this and group it with the advisory committee.
you know, I came to this meeting and I wanted to tell you that I don't like what's happening at my elementary school. Because we don't have, we have uneven classes, and I think that we need to have 3 more monitors. But we can get rid of 2 teachers, or whatever it might be. Where do I have information? Where do I have a place to get that down? So I'm not getting really frustrated.
They can put it right in that.
How long is it going to take me to get to a point where I can do that?
Well,
You need
I
to
think
get-
I've even thought of, I can reverse the whole order of the presentation. I can start with prediction. I can start with letting them have a chance to vent on the front end. But at some point, if we give them predictions and the exercise on the front end without the context of the general fund, I worry that they're going to go to that micro level of what are we willing to cut? Because I think part of what purpose of the meeting is to get recommendations on what categories should we reduce.
But they want to give you specifics.
They want to give me specifics probably on what not to cut. And
Perhaps,
the
yeah.
protocol is not going to be to spend any time on what not to cut. We're going to talk about what should we cut. So you're going to go through your whole song about, I really think we need to cut, we need to add this, not cut that, and say we're not here to talk about it. we have to talk about reducing if we're gonna be solvent. So I think that, now, if you have ideas, I'd love to hear them, put them on the other sheet. You can take that, and I'll listen to all of it. We're gonna collect all of it, we're gonna categorize all of it. But we have to focus on making reductions. That's the purpose of the exercise.
The only caveat that I would put to that, this is my personal opinion, would be maybe right before, or with the, I think like second to last slide about when you say the revenue and that piece that we talked about. That's just my thoughts, and other people would be, if we created, what would a parcel tax look like? And what would that mean in terms of the cuts? So like,
Right.
because if that was something that we got buy-in right away from people, that like, you know what, we have to cut this or do a parcel tax, and people were like, you know what, if it's for that specific purpose, I would be okay. Like, it would be good to get that input and that feedback. So I don't know if we had like maybe that was the second or third to last slide, that say like, this is what other districts have, Fremont, Union City, Hayward, close by, right? And a parcel tax similar to that, or whatever, like kind of that presentation that we had. I'm trying to remember the numbers, but it was like this. It was like $5 a month, so $60 parcel tax per year is what this would mean to our district.
I think we're out of our mind if we even talk about parcel tax. I ran the last one that didn't pass.
Why would they give you more
I
money?
think
if
we're
you
out of our
really-
mind. We
Yeah.
I think that's new income. I think that's maybe down the line, and that may come from people's suggestions.
But I guess I would say to put it on. So here's where I come with that. It's saying, Pat, you need to add 10 more teachers at my school. You know what? Like you know what I mean? Like all the frustration. This is what you need. We need more things. Well, look, give us your input. If that's not even on the table, that's okay. But at least we gave you the presentation that incorporated. These are the options. It's either cut all of these things, or potentially do some revenue things like a parcel tax, or do a blend of that. But that's what we want. We want your input. Your input could be like, no more taxes. Just cut everything. That's great. That's your input. Somebody else might be like, you know what? I'm willing to do. If it comes down to like $5 a month, and it's going to mean that the ratio is going to be 24-1 for my teachers.
Yeah, specific.
Okay? Like that is what I would be okay with, right? So that's just my thoughts of it.
So we need to define input, is what I'm thinking. We need to define what input is and what they really can do. The overall goal of this process, why we're having so many meetings and trying to get so many people, is because what I'm looking for is where is the most agreement on areas that we should think about reducing. That's really what I'm after. So it's not going to be the one-off, I want to add 10 more football coaches because we've got to win a game and that'll boost enrollment and it'll be this obscure strategy.
Yeah.
I want to know where is the bulk of the agreement in the community think that we need to make some reductions, and that's probably what we should look at and build recommendations around. So it's not about, there's going to be some one-off ideas that might be okay, but I do think we have to define what the input is. I think we probably need to have a look at how we collect short-term, long-term solutions, because I think the parcel tax is really an issue that we need to talk about, but that's a longer-term solution, and we can't do that by October 3rd. I think that's something we need to talk about, but I think it's something that's not going to be an October 3rd deliverable.
There's another thing that's not by October 3rd, and that is staff has given us a list of their suggested or potential or probable cuts. Nowhere has the board been able to add to that list, or where's the board input? You're getting community input, we have staff input. I have ideas that I'd like to be brought forward. And
well, I have a sheet for you, just as a board member.
Well, but I think we need to agendize not just staff's recommendations, not just the community's recommendations, but the board's recommendations.
Right.
And there has to be a way for us board members to communicate with each other about ideas.
I agree.
Well, I feel like we have the platform. The fact that we're here, we have the platform. I mean, our input is always given. I know what you mean in terms of the detailed piece, but I guess from my perspective would be we need to gather the community input, and then that's how we do our input. It's based off that analysis.
You guys have the final say. The short
No,
answer
it's
is
not based on
this is your decision.
Well, let me just give you an example. You had a $15,000 cut on there. I might be able to come up with a $200,000 cut. It's not on the list, it's not,
Right.
how do we bring our potential cuts forward?
Well, two ways. I would say I have a master sheet for you all with actuals that's easier to understand. And if you want drill downs in an Excel spreadsheet in that category fund, for the board, you guys can look at it in all the categories within general fund. You don't need 4 buckets.
True.
You need all buckets as is that we're gonna make to the county. And under that, you have an Excel spreadsheet that goes to, here's the full, amount that goes to that categorical for supplies and materials, and here's the FTE, position inventory, for staff. And what vacancies already occur, and is there anywhere to consolidate. That kind of detail you could look at, we can get that for you. But,
Well, can we get it though? I mean,
yeah, we can get it.
So I have a little bit of a different perspective than Member Thomas. I feel that as a board, we hire qualified staff members to give us the recommendations and make those, to suggest those determinations of what to cut that would have the least impact on education for our district. And then we as a board can then determine whether we agree with those recommendations or not. We're not, I don't think we are the ones
Oh,
to
so-
dig down into the weeds and say.
so we're
"Cut
not knowledgeable enough to recommend?
But I never said that.
Well, but that's kind of what the corollary is, that we can say yes or no to what the staff recommends, but
Our role is to approve.
well, we don't have to approve it, we would just say, like, here's
We can say,
here's the
"I like this,
recommendation
go
that we've
come up with
got.
something else,"
I recommend that we cut in this place instead of this one, because this is my perspective, whatever, and right, and we,
Right.
unless we get a majority, then nothing will get approved. So I think in that way, I mean, the other process would be, if we go to some of these meetings, we can just fill it out too, like,
Right.
as part of the community.
Well, but I think some of the areas I'm thinking about are areas where we need data from the district. So we need information from the district so I'll just give you one example, MCA, Media Communications Academy. That's a great program. Is it operating within its budget? We're supposed to match what the state gives us, and we can throw in some Carl Perkins dollars, but if we have small class sizes, that's something we can count against our match. But the last time we looked at this cut, we were matching 50 or 100% more than we needed for that program. So what about looking at that program and saying, is it operating within the parameters of the money we get and the requirements? Or is it just...
That's true of all
So-
those, all
Yeah,
programs.
So I wouldn't
It's not
necessarily
just
identify,
MTA.
I wouldn't necessarily identify a specific program like that. I would identify all special academies programs district-wide and see how they do. And then
See whether we're
staff can then come up with a
over-contributing.
recommendation as far as, okay, these are the programs that are operating within our budget, these are the programs that have an impact on our general fund, and then we can make a decision.
Yeah,
afterwards.
so another one would be...
So why are they impacting our budget in that?
Yeah, I mean, it's like overtime. If last time we made big cuts, we cut positions in classified positions, and our overtime quadrupled in just 2 years, 2 or 3 years. So, how are we going to look at where we can cut in areas like that? Because the community's not going to know whether a program's operating at an optimal level or whether we are spending money.
I think we have to be really careful about owning our own ideas when we come to making decisions. And you get too detailed. I mean, giving the ideas out and giving the information because we've got a historical point of view is a wonderful thing to do. And that's letting Pat know what it is. But to own the ideas and to have that idea control completely what we do with the budget is a negative thing.
Our job is to guide.
Sometimes we have to prove we're right when we make a vote on
Yeah, but
something.
we have a responsibility
We do.
to look how do you stop the bleeding?
No, agreed, no, we do have it, and that should be given to staff, but there's a point at which we as a group have to decide on the final budget. And then it has to go, and we have to give up our ownership of something that we feel is really important.
But we have to have the ability to discuss things that maybe staff hasn't brought to us, because we have concerns in a certain area, for example. If we don't have that ability or that oversight. If I'm just gonna say yes or no to whatever staff in the community state, I'm not doing my job of
Your
bringing.
venue to do that is when we get the first initial budget proposal draft or whatnot. And then at that point, you can say, okay, we're discussing this at the board, they're going to identify recommended cuts here, but it doesn't have what I think should be cut, and you say, I'm going to vote no for this because it doesn't have what we think it should, you know what I mean?
So I can't vote, I can only vote no, I can't propose. Is that what you're saying?
No.
No one ever said you couldn't propose.
Okay, what's the venue for the board to propose?
Yeah, when we discuss it. If we're discussing an item, you identify an item, and then you get back to staff because you feel that this item is costing us money. Staff gives us information, we discuss it as a board, and then we act on it.
Okay, so if I ask for data that, from
If you
staff,
ask for any type of data, whether it's budget related or not, or just academic data, you can do so in the board meeting on board request. And you say, I would like to have this as soon as possible on whatever.
So I know what you're saying in terms of, because I think about it, our next board meeting is going to be the recommendation, so it's not going to, we're not going to have time
we don't have time.
to do that. So maybe a suggestion would be kind of what Pat was training that, I mean, well, we already get the full budget anyways. I know if you want to really dive into it, we already have that information.
no, we don't have the kind of
We
information.
approve it every year.
No, but it doesn't have some of the detailed information about the cost of programs.
Like my understanding, I mean, like in the book, it says code 00579, and then it tells you the amount. So every single thing we spend, like it's on there. I know that maybe that kind of distinction, you're asking for maybe some sort of code to kind of disaggregate that maybe, or understand that, but we get the whole full budget. It just really is to get into
No,
the weeds.
there are things buried in the budget. We don't know what the MCA program costs from the budget. There's no way we
The
can.
thing is, what we don't want to fall into the trap of as board members and as a board in general, is that we don't want to be connected to a pet project or against a non-pet project. What our task is to look at the big picture overall and make a decision, approve or not approve, a recommendation that is in the greater good of the entire district as a whole.
Right, and benchmarking with other districts might be a way to do that. So we benchmark with other districts, we're spending this amount of money on this particular area. What do other districts spend?
And this could be part of that exercise, right? Maybe we want to know the spending quiz on other districts. That's state data, you can pull it anytime.
If we're asking some programs, like the cafeteria fund, for instance, to be solvent, then I think we have every right to ask all the programs.
Sure.
And look at all of them.
Sure.
Say,
Yeah.
Here's what I would recommend, here's what my understanding is, and if I'm wrong, Brian, correct me. Our goal by October 3rd is to identify which categories do we plan to reduce, and by what percentage, at minimum, right?
By what dollar
We have to
amount?
identify
Because
that by
we have to identify $2.8 million in somewhere across the district.
But we don't say what that money that's left is going to go for.
So, but
It's a set amount in staff, it's a set amount in MOT, it's a set amount in maintenance.
So,
Correct.
just bear with me, because here's what I think is, and if I'm wrong, maybe this won't work, but,
Because we're at 620.
so if our goal is to identify, okay, this is where we're gonna cut, and this is the approximate dollar amount, that allows staff time to be able to bring forward recommendations, to do a deeper dive on the cuts, and answer the questions like Nancy's asking about, okay, I wanna see the spreadsheet, I wanna see the detail, I wanna see, you know, every dollar in an Excel spreadsheet so I could look at it. That's kind of what we're talking about. Is that true, or do we have to identify that explicitly by the 3rd?
No.
We have to identify the 2.8 million out of the 4.3 by the 3rd.
So we
But
need
the
to-
level of detail that the county is asking for is only at the fund object level. So it's the same level that we report our SACs to the
So-
county in.
And
So
this
the two-
2.8 million is for this fiscal, this
17,
year,
18.
or for next year?
It's next year.
Next year.
Next year.
And that's another big issue too, because if we don't look at everything that gets us up to 4 million by March 15th, when we have to give notice,
No.
For example, our-
2.8 from March 15th.
Huh?
2.8 from March 15th.
no,
We've already
no,
done
it's not.
1.2.
No, 2.8
not
is by
according to-
October the 8th.
According to what,
The The 2.8, we have to identify by October the 8th for
Right,
the
so
county.
identify
The
county.
4.3 we need for first interim by December 15th.
Yeah, so, but I guess that piece though, so because we're doing this a robust community engagement process, then we're gonna do the preliminary things October 3rd. What we need to do, either at this meeting or at the next meeting, is identify future budget sessions or more discussions in terms of from now or from October to December to do the difference of the 2.3 to the 4 point, whatever.
So, yes, so we really wanted, and we said we want to cut 4.3 next in 17, 18, I mean 18, 19. So we had several big ticket items that require negotiations, for example, going from 31 to 35. We had another big item which was 900,000 to consolidate schools. If we come up with the 2.8 and think we're done, we're really
No,
not.
we're
And
not.
those
But we're not saying we're
require,
done.
but those require March 15th notices, a
Yeah.
lot of that.
Right.
Yeah,
We-
but we're saying, I mean, I think we're already on the same page that the October 3rd is, and the reason we're getting the community input is for the 2.8 by October 3rd for our purposes. And then we continue having meetings to map out the rest of the other 2 or 2.5.
See, I never thought of the community input as just dealing with the 2.8 million. I thought the community input would be ongoing and that we would be looking at,
What I meant is to use the community input framework to do the 2.3. I mean, if for the community told us, here's how to cut off 4.8, like, and that's what we decided to do, okay, then that's what we can do.
All right, so time out. We're at 6:23. Are we sufficiently satisfied with the process and the presentation that Representative Sanchez is going to do?
Yeah, they're gonna
Yeah,
tweak it
yeah,
and
yeah,
everything.
you can
Because that was the whole point of this
Yes,
meeting,
yeah,
not to
yeah,
discuss
yeah. Well,
nuances and priorities. It's just because, are we good with this? And what
Yeah.
input do we have for this presentation for the community?
okay, but in addition to that,
No, are we good with this and can you move forward?
yes,
Okay.
okay. But I think what we're talking about is that we've got a much bigger issue going forward that has a March 15th deadline that we have to be dealing
Then
with.
let's
But that-
schedule
that's
that
another
large
time.
discussion at the next study session, and we can dive into that.
Yeah.
But this was to approve this.
I just want to make
Or
sure
to-
that after the 5 meetings, that you're going to have enough information
Right.
to know which buckets to cut.
Right.
So you're looking to cut a bucket,
And I'm
not
looking
a
to give the
program.
board and staff enough patterns and themes that are generated from our interaction with the community, so we have a pretty good idea of what they're interested in us reducing, so that we can make informed decisions on that, plus board input.
Yeah, and I don't think most of the public's gonna know what educational services, curriculum, in-house professional development, they're not gonna know what that is. So I think
Right.
we really need to rely on
Explain
staff.
It's like
We
layman's
can't
terms.
just rely on,
Right.
We need to make it simpler to understand.
Yeah, yeah. I
Okay.
think the simpler the better, but I think that it has to be enough time for
Yeah.
people to give input in their own way,
Okay.
because they may not be able to use the structure.
Okay.
It may not mean anything to them, no
Okay.
matter what you do.
I mean, maybe a suggestion, because I think that maybe this, from my perspective, is kind of broad enough. Maybe you put a little asterisk on each of them that you can have an additional sheet that actually maps out, like you said, this is what that looks like.
What's exactly in there?
So then
Oh,
for
that's nice.
for the
That's
people who
nice.
want to dive in, can dive in. For the people who are like, oh, this is cool, this is good enough for me, then that way at least gives people options.
or maybe posters that in each of those categories, the things that are being funded out of it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay?
Let us rework it.
All
Thank
right.
you for your input, and I'll continue to work a little bit.
So glad you asked.
No,
No, really.
I've wrestled with it. It's hard to write a short letter.
It is hard to write a short letter, absolutely.
We're getting there.
Yeah, we're working on
We're
it.
getting there. Thank you.
What can I say?
We're going back into the library.
We're gonna go back up here and then go.
No, we have to do